Billionaire asks his maid to dance, but what she does next is shocking. Sebastian Sterling watched his mother, Eleanor, blow out the candles on her 80th birthday, surrounded by dozens of distinguished guests at his mansion in Beverly Hills. The party was going perfectly until he noticed one of the maids discreetly polishing the crystal glasses near the main hall. Something about that young woman with her hair pinned up and her immaculate uniform made him stop talking to the businessman. Without any logical explanation, Sebastian walked over to her and extended his hand. "Would you dance with me?" he asked, interrupting her work. The maid looked up with her brown eyes, surprised. The yellow cleaning gloves still covered her hands as she glanced around, realizing that every conversation had come to a halt. The guests were staring at them with expressions of shock and disapproval. "Mr. Sterling, I'm working," she murmured, her voice soft but firm. "Just one song," he insisted, keeping his hand extended. Maya Bennett hesitated for a moment that felt like an eternity. She had known the man for only 3 months since she'd started working at the Sterling mansion. She knew he was a widower, that he ran one of the largest business conglomerates in the country, and that he rarely spoke to the household staff. But there was something in his eyes at that moment that made her accept. She took off the yellow gloves and set them on the tray she was carrying. She accepted his hand under the scandalized stares of the high society guests from New York City. The orchestra, after a moment of confusion, resumed the waltz it had been playing. Sebastian led Maya to the center of the hall, where the crystal chandeliers cast golden reflections across the marble floor. She danced naturally, following his steps with a grace that surprised everyone. "You dance very well," Sebastian remarked as they turned slowly. "My grandmother taught me when I was a child," Maya replied, keeping her eyes fixed on his. Mrs. Eleanor watched the scene from the main table, her face tight with rage. She gripped her champagne glass so hard her knuckles were white. Beside her, the other society ladies whispered bitter remarks about her son's lack of decorum. As the music neared its end, Maya leaned in slightly and whispered something in Sebastian's ear. The words she said made his blood run cold. "I recognize this song. It was your wife Catherine's favorite." Sebastian nearly stumbled. His eyes widened as he looked at Maya's serene face. Catherine had left 5 years ago, leaving only a note saying she needed to start a new life somewhere else. How could this maid possibly know about his wife's favorite song? "How do you—" he began, but Maya kept whispering. "She didn't leave the country, Mr. Sterling. Catherine is at a clinic in Greenwich, and she needs your help." The song ended, and the polite applause of the guests echoed through the hall. Sebastian released Maya's hands as if they were burning him. All the color had drained from his face. Mrs. Eleanor approached quickly, her navy blue dress flowing behind her. "Sebastian, what was that circus act?" she said, low but firm. "The guests are scandalized." "Mother, And you—" Eleanor turned to Maya, her eyes flashing with fury. "Go back to the kitchen immediately. Tomorrow we'll discuss whether you still have a job in this house." Maya gave a respectful bow, picked up her gloves, and walked away without saying another word. But before she left the hall, she exchanged one last look with Sebastian, a look that said clearly, "We need to talk." The rest of the party passed in a blur for Sebastian. He greeted the guests, cut the cake, made the obligatory toasts, but his mind was completely focused on Maya's words. Catherine alive, at a clinic. Why had she never reached out? Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, go ahead and leave a like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. When the last guest had left, around 2 in the morning, Sebastian couldn't sleep. He walked through the hallways of the mansion, passing by the photos of Catherine that still decorated the walls. They had been married for 8 years, when she was a young social worker involved in community projects. The love had been instantaneous, but adapting to life as the wife of a billionaire was difficult for her. Catherine always felt out of place at elite parties. She preferred to devote her time to social projects, distributing food baskets, and organizing vocational courses for underserved communities. This deeply irritated Mrs. Eleanor, who thought her daughter-in-law should focus on activities befitting her social position. The fights between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law became constant. Eleanor openly criticized Catherine's poor people's habits, while Catherine questioned the family's excessive spending on frivolities, while so many people were in need. Sebastian always tried to mediate the conflicts, but felt torn between loyalty to his mother and love for his wife. The next morning, Sebastian waited for Maya in the mansion's kitchen. She arrived promptly at 6 o'clock, as always, and began preparing the family's breakfast. Her movements were precise and efficient, showing experience in domestic work. "We need to talk," Sebastian said as soon as they were alone. Maya looked around, making sure no one else was present. "I know you must be confused, Mr. Sebastian, but everything I said yesterday is true." "How did you know, Catherine? And how do you know about the music?" Maya dried her hands on her apron and turned to face him fully. "My real name is Maya Bennett Harrison. I'm a trained nurse, not a housekeeper. I worked for 2 years at Evergreen Sanctuary in Greenwich, caring for your wife." Sebastian leaned against the kitchen counter, feeling his legs go weak. "Catherine was admitted to a psychiatric clinic?" "Not exactly psychiatric. It's a place for people with neurological and memory problems. But Mr. Sebastian..." Maya hesitated before continuing. "Your wife didn't have any mental illness when she arrived there." "What do you mean?" "She was admitted against her will, with documents claiming emotional instability and self-destructive tendencies. But I got to know her well over 2 years. Catherine is a lucid, intelligent woman who just wanted to go home." Sebastian ran his hands through his hair, trying to process the information. "That's impossible. She left a note saying she was going to start a new life. She said she wasn't happy here, that she needed freedom." Maya opened her purse and pulled out a crumpled piece of paper. "This is the note Catherine gave me at the clinic. She asked me to find a way to reach you." Sebastian took the paper with trembling hands. The handwriting was unmistakably Catherine's. "If anyone is reading this, please help me. I didn't leave my home of my own free will. I was brought here on a night in March 2019 after an argument with my mother-in-law about the company's finances. I discovered some irregularities in the accounting books, and when I questioned them, I woke up here the next day. They told my husband I ran away, but that's a lie. I just want to go home, to go back to Sebastian. Please don't let them forget me here." Sebastian's hands trembled as he read. The date coincided exactly with the day Catherine had run away. He remembered the argument between her and his mother in the office that night. When he woke up the next morning, he found only the farewell note on the bed. "Why were you fired from the clinic?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "Because I started questioning the treatments Catherine was receiving. She was being over-medicated with drugs that caused mental confusion and memory loss. When I asked about the need for those medications, the clinic director said they were express orders from the family." "What family? I never authorized any treatment." "According to the documents, the authorizations came from Mrs. Eleanor Sterling as temporary legal guardian, since you were emotionally distraught over your wife's disappearance." At that moment, Mrs. Eleanor walked into the kitchen, still wearing her silk robe. "Sebastian, what are you doing here talking to the maid?" "Mother, we need to talk." "Now?" "About what?" "About Catherine." Eleanor's face hardened immediately. "Your wife abandoned us, Sebastian. How many times are we going to go over this?" "She didn't abandon us, Mother. She was taken to a clinic against her will." Eleanor stared at Maya with pure hatred. "That woman is filling your head with lies. I'm firing her this instant." "No, Mother. You're going to explain why you signed documents committing my wife." Eleanor turned pale, but quickly composed herself. "I don't know what you're talking about." Maya pulled a folder with photocopied documents from her purse. "These are the admission papers, Mr. Sterling, all signed by your mother. And here are the records of the clinic's monthly payments, debited directly from her personal account." Sebastian took the documents and examined them. His mother's signature was on every page. The medical reports described Catherine as a patient with psychotic episodes requiring prolonged pharmacological restraint. "Mother." Sebastian's voice was heavy with pain and disbelief. "I protected this family," Eleanor exploded. "That woman was questioning things that were none of her business. She found out about the transfers to the offshore accounts and threatened to expose everything. She was going to destroy the empire your father built." "What transfers?" The ones that keep the company running without paying the taxes we owe. Your father always did this, Sebastian. It's how we stay on top. Sebastian felt the world spinning around him. His mother had committed his wife to protect their tax evasion schemes, and he had believed the story that Catherine had abandoned him. "Where are the car keys?" he asked, turning to Maya. "Mr. Sterling, we're going to get my wife, now." Eleanor grabbed her son's arm. "Sebastian, you don't understand. If Catherine comes back and talks about what she found out, we'll all go to prison. The company will go bankrupt. We'll lose everything." "Then let us lose it, Mother. I'm not going to let my wife rot in a clinic because of dirty money." Sebastian left the kitchen with Maya behind him. Eleanor stood there watching them leave, tears of rage streaming down her face. The drive to Greenwich took an hour in the morning New York City traffic. Along the way, Maya shared more details about Catherine's condition. "She has good days and bad days. The medication has affected her recent memory, but she clearly remembers her life before the commitment. She talks about you constantly, Mr. Sterling. She asks every day when you're going to visit her. Why did she never try to contact me directly? Because the clinic staff told her you authorized the commitment, that you didn't want to see her anymore. Catherine believed that for a long time, until I started working there and realized something was wrong." "How did you know she was my wife?" "She always carried a photo of you in her wallet, a picture of the two of you on your wedding day. When I was fired from the clinic, I decided to investigate. I found out about the Sterling family, about the company, about the mansion, and then I applied to work as a housekeeper in your home." "You risked a lot doing that." "Catherine became my friend. She helped me when I was going through personal problems at the clinic. I couldn't leave her abandoned there. Evergreen Sanctuary was located in a rural area of Greenwich, surrounded by high walls and electronic gates. Sebastian had never been there before. The place felt more like a prison than a medical treatment center. At the front desk, a middle-aged receptionist greeted them with professional courtesy. "How can I help you?" "I'd like to see my wife, Catherine Sterling," said Sebastian, presenting his documents. The receptionist checked the computer, then looked at them with a worried expression. "Mr. Sterling, according to our records, you're not authorized for visits. Only Mrs. Eleanor Sterling is authorized to see the patient." "I'm her husband." "Yes, sir. But the documents indicate that you are undergoing psychological treatment due to the trauma of marital abandonment. Your mother is the patient's temporary legal guardian." Sebastian felt the anger rise in his chest. "I want to speak with the director of this clinic immediately." After a half-hour wait, Dr. Vance, the clinic's medical director, received them in his office. He was a man in his 50s with a tired look and a defensive demeanor. "Mr. Sterling, I understand your distress, but we strictly follow the protocols established by the family." "What protocols?" "I never authorized my wife's commitment. According to the documentation, your mother obtained a legal power of attorney due to your unstable emotional state after the marital abandonment." "That's false. I never signed any power of attorney." Dr. Vance opened a drawer and pulled out a document. "This is the power of attorney duly notarized." Sebastian examined the paper. His signature was there, but he was absolutely certain he had never signed it. The handwriting was slightly different from his natural script. This signature was forged. "Mr. Sterling, I understand this is a difficult moment, but I cannot allow you to make unfounded accusations." Maya leaned forward. "Doctor, can you explain why Catherine is being medicated with such high doses of sedatives if she doesn't exhibit aggressive behavior?" "And you are—" "Maya Bennett Harrison, registered nurse. I worked here until 3 months ago." Dr. Vance seemed uncomfortable. "Ah, yes, Maya, the nurse who was fired for insubordination." "Insubordination? Or for questioning unnecessary treatments?" "Patient Catherine's treatment is determined by the medical team and approved by the family." Sebastian slammed his fist on the table. "I want to see my wife. Now." "Mr. Sterling, I'll need to contact Mrs. Eleanor before authorizing any visit." "Then call her, but I'm not leaving here without seeing Catherine." Dr. Vance picked up the phone and dialed. Sebastian could hear his mother's loud voice on the other end of the line. After 5 minutes of tense conversation, the doctor hung up. "Mrs. Eleanor authorizes a 15-minute visit, supervised by a nurse." "Supervised?" She's my wife, not a prisoner. Those are the clinic's rules, Mr. Sterling. Catherine's room was on the 3rd floor in a wing reserved for long-term patients. The walls were white and cold, with only a small window looking out onto an inner courtyard. Catherine was sitting in an armchair beside the bed, staring off into space. When Sebastian entered the room, she slowly looked up. For a moment there was no recognition. Then her eyes filled with tears. "Sebastian!" Her voice was weak, almost a whisper. "Catherine, my love." He knelt beside the armchair and held her hands. Catherine was thin, pale, with deep dark circles under her eyes. Her hair, once always lustrous, was dull and lifeless. "Did you come to take me away?" she asked, with childlike hope in her voice. "Yes, my love, I came to take you away. But they said you didn't want to see me anymore, that I was crazy and that you were ashamed of me." "Never, Catherine. I never thought that. I love you." She looked over his shoulder and saw Maya standing in the doorway. "Maya, you came back." Catherine smiled for the first time. "Maya was the only one here who believed in me. She always said you would find me." The nurse supervising them cleared his throat. 15 minutes, Mr. Sterling." Sebastian ignored the warning and kept talking to Catherine. She told him about the endless days at the clinic, about the medication that left her confused, about the nightmares in which she screamed his name and no one heard her. "Catherine, do you remember our song? The one we played at our wedding?" "Chopin's Raindrop Waltz," she answered immediately, with a faint smile. "We danced to it every Friday in the living room at home." "That's right. And do you remember what you discovered at the company before you came here?" Catherine's face tensed, as if struck by physical pain. "The accounts, the hidden accounts. Your mother was embezzling tax money. A lot of money, Sebastian. Millions. When I said we needed to report it to the authorities, she was furious." "Time's up," the nurse announced. "No, please," Catherine pleaded. "Don't leave me here again. Please, Sebastian." Sebastian's heart broke hearing the desperation in his wife's voice. "I'll come back tomorrow, I promise, and I'll find a way to get you out of here." "You promise, Ike, I promise." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, feel free to hit like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. On the way back to New York City, Sebastian was completely silent. Maya respected his moment of reflection until he finally spoke. "My mother destroyed the life of the woman I love to protect dirty money. What are you going to do?" "I'm going to get Catherine out of there no matter the cost. But first, I need to understand the full extent of what my mother did." When they arrived at the mansion, Sebastian went straight to his father's office on the 2nd floor. The room was exactly as Arthur Sterling had left it when he passed away 6 years ago. Sebastian opened the safe, using the combination he knew by heart, and began examining the documents. What he found deeply shocked him. There were records of bank accounts in tax havens, documents for shell companies, proof of bribes paid to public officials. The Sterling Empire had been built on a mountain of corruption. But there was something else. At the bottom of the safe, he found a sealed envelope with his name written in his father's handwriting. Inside was a different will from the one that had been read after Arthur's death. In this secret will, his father left clear instructions. Half of the family fortune should be donated to charitable institutions chosen by Catherine, whom he considered the only person in the family with true social conscience. Additionally, there was a detailed confession about the tax crimes and an express order for Sebastian to settle everything with the authorities. The will was dated only 1 month before Arthur's death. Apparently, he had developed cancer and decided to clear his conscience before passing away. Sebastian understood everything. His mother had hidden the real will and forged a fake one to maintain total control of the company. When Catherine discovered the irregularities, Eleanor realized her daughter-in-law posed a threat to the scheme. That night, Sebastian confronted his mother at dinner. He placed all the documents on the dining room table and waited for her reaction. "Mother, I found Dad's real will." Eleanor stopped eating and stood completely still. I don't know what you're talking about. And I also found all the evidence of the tax crimes. Dad wanted me to settle everything and donate half the fortune to charity. Your father was senile when he wrote those ridiculous things. The valid will is the one that was read at the registry office. The will you forged. Eleanor stood up abruptly from her chair. Sebastian, you don't understand the responsibilities we have. We employ thousands of people. If we hand over that information, the company will go bankrupt and all those workers will be out of a job. And Catherine, did she deserve to rot in a clinic to protect jobs? Catherine was naive. She didn't understand how the world works. She wanted to hand everything over on a silver platter to the tax auditors, destroying decades of work because of foolish scruples. Scruples? Mother, that's called honesty. Honesty doesn't pay salaries, Sebastian. Honesty doesn't maintain this family's standard of living. Sebastian picked up the phone. What are you doing? Calling Dr. Vance. I'm authorizing Catherine's transfer to another hospital today. Eleanor tried to grab the phone from his hand. Sebastian, if you bring Catherine back, she'll talk. The authorities will investigate. We'll all go to prison. Then let us be arrested, Mother. We deserve it. The conversation with Dr. Vance was tense. The doctor claimed that transferring Catherine without proper medical supervision would be dangerous for her. Sebastian suspected the doctor was being bribed by his mother, but he couldn't prove it. Doctor, I'm her husband, and I'm demanding the transfer. Mr. Sterling, legally the person with authority over the patient is your mother. I can only suggest that you resolve this matter as a family. Then we'll resolve it in court. Sebastian hung up the phone and immediately called the best family lawyer he knew. Mr. James Harrison was an honorable man who had been a friend of his father's. Sebastian, what a surprise to hear your voice. How can I help you? Mr. Harrison, I need to nullify a power of attorney that was forged in my name and obtain custody of my wife, who is institutionalized against her will. This is very serious, Sebastian. Are you certain of what you're telling me? Absolutely, and I have all the evidence. Then come to my office tomorrow morning. We'll get this resolved. That night, Sebastian couldn't sleep. He walked through the mansion thinking about all the times he had missed Catherine over the past 5 years. Every night he cried over her absence. Every morning he woke up hoping to find her beside him in bed. And she was only 50 kilometers away, alone and medicated, believing he had abandoned her. The next morning, before leaving to meet the lawyer, Sebastian went to Maya's room in the staff quarters. Maya, I need to apologize to you. For what, Mr. Sebastian? For everything you went through, for risking your career to help my wife, for putting up with working here, knowing the truth. I did what any decent person would do. No, you did much more than that, and when Catherine comes home, I want you to be her private nurse, with a nurse's salary, not a housekeeper's. Mr. Sebastian, and I want you to help me take care of her. I don't know what after effects those medications may have caused. Catherine is strong. With love and proper care, she'll make a full recovery. Mr. Harrison's office was on Wall Street, in a penthouse overlooking the entire city. The lawyer examined all the documents Sebastian had brought, including the secret will and the evidence of the tax crimes. Sebastian, this is a bombshell. If these documents become public, the repercussions will be enormous. I know. But I can't live with this guilt anymore, and I can't leave Catherine trapped because of it. Here's what we'll do. First, we'll get an injunction to nullify the power of attorney and transfer Catherine. Then, you'll decide how you want to handle the tax crimes issue. I want to hand everything over to the Department of Internal Revenue. Pay the overdue taxes with interest and penalties, and regularize the company's situation. That's going to cost a fortune, Sebastian. My father left clear instructions in his will. He wanted me to do this. Mr. James Harrison spent the rest of the morning preparing the legal documents. In the afternoon, they headed together to the Evergreen Sanctuary, accompanied by a court officer. Dr. Vance received the court order with evident displeasure. This is highly irregular. The patient is in a delicate state. Doctor, said Mr. James Harrison firmly, the court order is clear. You have 2 hours to prepare the patient for transfer. Where are you taking her? To the Metropolitan Medical Institute, where she will be evaluated by an independent medical team, answered Sebastian. While they waited for the preparations, Sebastian called Maya. Meet us at the Metropolitan Medical Institute in 2 hours. Catherine is going to need a familiar face when she gets there. Is she okay? She's coming home, Maya. She's finally coming home. Catherine's transfer was tense. She was confused, still under the effects of the medication, and didn't fully understand what was happening. Sebastian held her hand throughout the entire ambulance ride. Where are we going? She asked in a weak voice. To a hospital in New York City, where they're going to take good care of you. And then? Then we're going home. Our home. At the Metropolitan Medical Institute, Dr. Robert Foster, a renowned neurologist, examined Catherine for 3 hours. Afterwards, he spoke with Sebastian privately. Mr. Sterling, your wife has been medicated completely inappropriately. She was given extremely high doses of sedatives and antipsychotics that are not indicated for her condition. What condition? Does she have a mental illness? None whatsoever. Catherine is perfectly sound of mind. The only problems she has are the result of excessive medication, temporary confusion, recent memory loss, and muscle weakness. Is it reversible? Completely. With proper treatment and, above all, emotional support, she'll make a full recovery in a few months. Sebastian felt an enormous sense of relief. Doctor, how long will she need to stay hospitalized? About 5 days for detoxification and stabilization. After that, she can continue treatment at home with outpatient care. That night, Sebastian slept in an armchair beside Catherine's hospital bed. She woke several times during the early morning hours, confused, asking where she was. He held her hand and whispered words of affection until she fell back asleep. In the morning, Maya arrived at the hospital bringing clean clothes and some of Catherine's personal belongings she had managed to retrieve from the clinic. How did she sleep? Asked Maya. Restless, but better than I expected. The doctors say her recovery will be faster than we thought. Catherine woke up around 10 o'clock. She was more lucid than the day before. Sebastian, I wasn't dreaming. No, my love. You're safe now. Maya. Catherine smiled when she saw the nurse. You did it. You brought him to me. Actually, he found me. Mr. Sebastian is smarter than I gave him credit for. During the 5 days of hospitalization, Sebastian never left Catherine's side. He brought music she loved, photos of the house, flowers from the garden. Each day she became more alert and more like the woman he had fallen in love with. Meanwhile, the situation at the Sterling mansion was deteriorating. Eleanor had found out about the court injunction and was furious. She fired half the staff in a fit of rage and locked herself in her room, refusing to speak to anyone. Mr. James Harrison updated Sebastian daily on the legal developments. The forged power of attorney has been officially annulled. Your mother no longer has any legal authority over Catherine. And the tax fraud issue? I'm negotiating with the Department of Internal Revenue. They're willing to accept a settlement agreement, provided you pay the full amounts owed. How much? $87 million, including taxes, fines, and interest. Sebastian swallowed hard. It was an astronomical sum, but still manageable given the family's assets. Make the deal. Sebastian, this will consume a large portion of the company's assets. You'll have to sell properties, stocks, artwork. I don't care. My father wanted me to do this. And your mother. She'll be left with almost nothing. She'll have a dignified allowance to live comfortably, but she won't have a say in any company decisions anymore. On the 5th day, Catherine was discharged from the hospital. Sebastian took her straight home, but not to the Beverly Hills mansion. He had rented a smaller house in the Upper East Side, far from Eleanor and the bad memories. Why aren't we going to our house? Asked Catherine, as the car stopped in front of the old townhouse. Because I want you to feel safe, and in the mansion, you'll never feel safe with my mother there. Where will your mother live? She can stay in the mansion as long as she wants, but we're going to start our life over here. Maya was waiting for them at the door of the new house with a radiant smile. She had prepared the master bedroom with flowers and made everything cozy for Catherine's arrival. Welcome to your new home, Catherine. Thank you, Maya, for everything. The first 3 weeks at home were a period of adjustment. Catherine still had moments of confusion, especially when she woke up. Sometimes she forgot where she was and panicked, but each day her memory and her personality grew stronger. Maya moved into the guest room and became not just the nurse, but the friend and confidant Catherine needed. They spent hours talking about the 5 lost years, about the social projects Catherine wanted to resume, about plans for the future. Sebastian discovered that his wife had become an even more determined person during her time at the clinic. The injustice she had suffered had awakened in her a thirst for justice that hadn't existed before. "I want to sue that clinic," she said one Sunday morning. "Catherine, you don't have to put yourself through that." "Yes, I do. How many other people are being held there against their will? How many other families are suffering the way we suffered? The lawyer said it would be a very draining lawsuit. I don't care. That Dr. Vance and his team need to be punished. Mr. James Harrison agreed to represent Catherine in the lawsuit against the clinic. The investigation revealed that at least 12 other patients were being held against their will with forged or irregular documents. The case gained media attention. Catherine gave courageous interviews telling her story and denouncing the clinic's abuses. Her courage inspired other families to seek justice. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, go ahead and leave a like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. 3 months after Catherine left the clinic, Sebastian made a decision that surprised everyone. He called a meeting with the top executives of Sterling Global Holdings. "Gentlemen, I've decided to completely restructure our organization." The executives exchanged worried looks. "As of today, half of the company's annual profits will go to social projects. We're going to create a foundation that will be managed by my wife, Catherine." "Mr. Sterling," said the CFO, "this will make the company far less competitive." "Then we'll have to be more efficient. We're going to cut unnecessary expenses and focus on what truly matters." "And if the shareholders don't agree?" "I'm the majority shareholder. The decision is mine." Catherine was emotional when Sebastian told her about the foundation. "Are you sure? It's an enormous responsibility." "I'm absolutely certain. It's what my father wanted, and it's what you've always wanted to do. It will be hard to gain the trust of the communities after everything your family did. That's exactly why we're going to start small. We'll prove we've changed through our actions." The Arthur Sterling Foundation was officially established 4 months later. Catherine took over as president, and Maya was hired as the health coordinator for the projects. The first project was a free medical care center on the outskirts of New York City. Catherine made a point of being there every day, personally supervising every detail. "I don't want this to be just a facade to clear our conscience," she would say. "I want it to truly transform lives." The medical center served more than 1,000 people in the first 3 months. Maya coordinated a team of 15 health professionals, offering everything from basic consultations to minor surgeries. The response was so positive that other companies began approaching the foundation for partnerships. Catherine was selective in choosing partners, investigating the reputation and values of each company before accepting any collaboration. Meanwhile, Eleanor lived in isolation in the Beverly Hills mansion. She had fired nearly all the staff and spent her days alone, bitter and resentful. She refused to receive visits from Sebastian and never sought out Catherine to apologize. One afternoon, Sebastian decided to visit her. He found his mother in the garden, sitting in a wheelchair. "Mother, how are you?" "How do you think I am?" "They destroyed my life." "Mother, you destroyed your own life, and you nearly destroyed mine too. I protected this family for decades, and this is how you repay me." "You protected it by evading taxes and having my wife committed against her will." Eleanor turned her face away, refusing to look at her son. "You don't understand anything, Sebastian. That woman poisoned your mind." Catherine opened my eyes to the truth. "Truth? The truth is that you all threw away everything your father built." "No, Mother. We saved what my father truly wanted to build, a company with integrity and a united family." "United family?" Eleanor laughed bitterly. "Where is this united family?" "My family is Catherine, Maya, and me. You can always be part of it if you change your attitude." I will never accept this situation. Never. Sebastian sighed, realizing that his mother had chosen to live in the past, and in bitterness. The door will always be open, Mother. When you want to apologize to Catherine and start over, we'll be here. 6 months after the foundation was created, Catherine received an unexpected call. It was from an investigative journalist who was looking into irregular clinics in the state of New York. Mrs. Sterling, we discovered that the Evergreen Sanctuary was keeping at least 20 patients in irregular situations. Your case was crucial to our investigation. What happened to Dr. Vance? He was arrested along with 3 other employees. The clinic was closed and the patients were transferred to appropriate institutions. And the lawsuit? The district attorney's office is offering compensation to all victims. Your case will be used as a precedent. Catherine shared the news with Sebastian and Maya during dinner. At least other families won't have to go through what we went through, she said. And the compensation? Maya asked. I'm going to donate it all to the foundation. It's the least I can do for the other victims. That night, Sebastian and Catherine walked through the garden of their house in the Upper East Side. It was a clear night with a full moon. Do you regret anything? Catherine asked. Having taken so long to discover the truth, having believed my mother's version without questioning it, I don't regret anything. Not even the 5 lost years. They weren't lost. They were a lesson. They taught me the value of freedom, truth, and true family. And now what do you want for our future? I want to expand the foundation. I want to create orphanages, schools, rehabilitation centers. I want to use your family's fortune to repair the damage it has caused. And personally, what do you want for us? Catherine stopped walking and held Sebastian's hands. I want us to renew our wedding vows. I want to celebrate our true love, without lies, without secrets. When? On the 1-year anniversary of my leaving the clinic. Sebastian smiled and kissed her gently. Where do you want to hold the ceremony? At the Foundation's medical center. I want the people we've helped to be our witnesses. The idea was perfect. They spent the next few months planning a simple but meaningful ceremony. Maya would be the maid of honor, and the patients at the medical center would be the special guests. Mrs. Martha, a 70-year-old woman who had been operated on free of charge at the foundation, was put in charge of making the cake. Mr. George, a carpenter who had been treated at the center, built a special altar for the ceremony. Sebastian sold all the family jewelry and used the money to buy simple wedding bands made by a local artisan. 3 days before the ceremony, Eleanor showed up unexpectedly at the Upper East Side house. She was visibly thinner and more fragile, leaning on a cane. "May I come in?" she asked, her voice hesitant. Catherine received her in the living room, cautiously. "How can I help you, Mrs. Eleanor?" "I came to apologize." The silence stretched on for long seconds. "I came to apologize for what I did to you, for the 5 years I stole from your life, for the pain I caused my son." Catherine remained calm, waiting. "I don't expect forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it, but I wanted you to know that I am deeply sorry." "Why now, Mrs. Eleanor?" "Because I spent these months alone thinking, and I realized I destroyed everything that truly mattered, trying to protect things that had no value." "And what has value?" "Family, love, honesty. Things you always tried to teach me, and I was too foolish to understand." Catherine leaned forward. "Eleanor, I forgive you, not for your actions, but for myself. I don't want to carry anger in my heart." "Thank you. But forgiveness doesn't mean I'll forget, nor that I'll trust you immediately. I understand. If you want to be part of this family again, you'll have to prove through your actions that you've truly changed." Eleanor nodded, tears streaming down her face. May I attend the vow renewal ceremony?" Catherine looked at Sebastian, who had just arrived from the office. "Mother," he said, surprised. "She came to apologize," Catherine explained. "It's true, son. I came to acknowledge my mistakes and ask for a chance to start over." Sebastian approached slowly. "Mother, you deeply hurt the people I love most." "I know, and I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make up for it." "How?" "I want to help with the foundation. I want to use my administrative experience to expand the projects." "You would do that?" "It would be an honor." Catherine and Sebastian exchanged glances. After everything they had been through, perhaps rebuilding the family was possible. "You can attend the ceremony," Catherine said, "but as a guest, not as an organizer." "Of course, thank you." On the day of the vow renewal, the Foundation's medical center was decorated with simple flowers and colorful ribbons. More than 200 people gathered to celebrate the love of Sebastian and Catherine. Maya was radiant in her role as maid of honor, wearing a blue dress that Catherine had chosen especially for her. Eleanor remained discreet in the back, watching the ceremony with tears in her eyes. The local community priest led the ceremony in a simple and emotional manner. When the time came for the vows, Sebastian spoke first. "Catherine, 5 years ago I thought I had lost you forever. Today I know our love is stronger than any adversity. I promise to protect you, honor you, and love you forever." "Sebastian," said Catherine, her voice steady, "you taught me that true love fights for the truth even when it's painful. I promise to stand by your side, building a better future for our family and our community." When they exchanged rings, the crowd applauded, deeply moved. Mrs. Martha cried so much that she needed her husband's help to calm down. After the ceremony, there was a simple celebration in the courtyard of the medical center. The orchestra was replaced by a local folk country band, and instead of French champagne, they served soda and natural juice. Sebastian invited Catherine to dance, and this time there were no judgmental looks. Only people who truly loved them, celebrating a love that had survived 5 years of separation and lies. "This is very different from our first party," said Sebastian as they danced. "It's much better," replied Catherine, "because now we're surrounded by people who love us for who we are, not what we have." Maya danced with Mr. George, the carpenter. Mrs. Martha danced with the volunteer doctor from the center. And at the end of the night, even Eleanor agreed to dance one song with her son. "Thank you, Mom," said Sebastian. "For what?" "For coming, for apologizing, for giving us a chance to start over." "Thank you, son, for not giving up on me." 2 years later, the Arthur Sterling Foundation had become a national benchmark in social programs. It had medical centers in 5 cities, 3 schools, 2 orphanages, and a microloan program that had already helped over 1,000 families. Catherine had become one of the most respected figures in the American nonprofit sector. She received invitations to speak at universities and international organizations. Maya had specialized in social program management and coordinated a team of 50 people. She had married Dr. Robert Foster, the neurologist who treated Catherine, and they lived in a house next door to Sebastian and Catherine's. Eleanor had moved into a smaller house close to the main medical center. She worked as a volunteer in the foundation's administration and had become a loving grandmother to the children at the orphanage. Sebastian had transformed the family business into a model of corporate social responsibility. Sterling Global Holdings paid all its taxes on time, offered the best salaries in the industry, and allocated 40% of its profits to the foundation. On a Friday afternoon, Sebastian came home early and found Catherine in the garden, watering the flowers. "How was your day?" he asked, kissing her on the forehead. "Wonderful. We opened the 3rd medical center, and the demand is already greater than our capacity. Are we going to need to expand?" "Yes. Maya is putting together the plan for 2 more centers. And how are we going to fund it?" Eleanor suggested a donation campaign. She has some very good fundraising ideas. Who would have thought my mother would become an expert in charity fundraising? People can change, Sebastian, if they truly want to. They sat on the garden bench watching the sunset. "Catherine, are you happy?" "Completely happy. And you?" "Happier than I ever thought possible, even after losing a large portion of the family fortune. Especially because of that, I discovered that true wealth isn't in the bank, it's here." He pointed to his heart. "And here," he pointed to the house, where Maya was preparing dinner, humming to herself. "And what do you want for the next 5 years?" "I want to keep expanding the foundation. I want it to reach every region of the country. And personally," he hesitated. "What?" "I want us to have children. I want them to grow up in a better world than the one we found." Catherine smiled and held his hand. "I've been thinking about that too, and I think the time has come." "Really?" "Really. I want our children to see the example of what a true family looks like. a family that fights for justice, that helps those in need, that values love above all else. That night they had dinner with Maya and Robert, who had become part of the family. Eleanor was also there, bringing desserts made by Mrs. Martha. "I have some news for you," said Maya in the middle of dinner. "What news?" asked Catherine. "Robert and I are expecting a baby." The table erupted in celebration. Eleanor cried tears of joy, imagining herself as a grandmother. Sebastian and Catherine exchanged glances, knowing they would soon share similar news. "And there's more," continued Maya. "We want you to be the godparents." "It would be an honor," said Catherine, moved. After dinner, while washing the dishes together, Maya asked Catherine, "Do you regret anything?" "What are you talking about?" "The 5 years at the sanctuary, the pain you went through, everything you lost." Catherine stopped washing the dishes and looked out the kitchen window. She could see Sebastian in the garden, playing with the neighbor children. "You know what, Maya? I think everything happened the way it was supposed to." "What do you mean?" "If I hadn't gone through that, maybe we never would have discovered the family's crimes. Maybe Sebastian never would have found the courage to change. Maybe I never would have developed this passion for social projects. And you never would have met me." "Exactly. And you became the sister I never had. And now our children will grow up together like cousins." "Like siblings," corrected Catherine, "because family isn't just blood. It's choice, it's love, it's loyalty." That night, Sebastian and Catherine walked through the neighborhood, as they did every Friday. They greeted the neighbors, stopped to talk to Mrs. Martha, who was at her doorstep. "How's the little grandson?" asked Catherine. "Growing strong thanks to your medical center. The doctor said the surgery was perfect." "Glad to hear that." "And when are you going to give us the joy of seeing your little ones running around?" Sebastian and Catherine laughed. "Soon, Mrs. Martha. Soon." When they got home, they found Eleanor in the living room, organizing old family photos. "What are you doing, Mother?" "I was putting away the bad photos and setting aside the good ones to make a new album." "Bad photos? The ones that remind me of the times we were rich in money, but poor in love." Catherine came closer and helped Eleanor organize the photos. "This one is beautiful," said Catherine, showing a photo of Sebastian as a child, smiling in his father's lap. "Arthur always said Sebastian would be a better man than him," commented Eleanor. "He was right." "Your husband was a good man, Eleanor. He just lost his way, like I lost mine. But you brought me back. We brought each other back, to one another." 3 months later, on a spring morning, Catherine woke up feeling nauseous. She took a pregnancy test in secret and, when she confirmed her suspicion, decided to share the news in a special way. That night, during the family dinner, she asked for everyone's attention. "I have an announcement to make." "What announcement?" asked Sebastian. "The Foundation's next project is going to be very special." "Why?" "Because it will be our first long-term project. It'll take 9 months to be ready, and then we'll dedicate at least 18 years to taking care of it." Sebastian took a few seconds to understand. When he did, his eyes filled with tears. "Catherine, are you—" "I'm pregnant, my love." The table erupted in celebration again. Eleanor cried so much that Maya had to get her a glass of water. Robert congratulated Sebastian with pats on the back. "The cousins will be born almost together," said Maya, moved. "What a blessing," whispered Eleanor. "What a wonderful blessing." That night, after everyone had left, Sebastian and Catherine were alone in the garden. "Are you happy?" she asked. "There's no word to describe what I'm feeling." "And aren't you worried? With all that responsibility?" "No, because I know our son will grow up surrounded by true love. He'll learn from an early age the values that truly matter." "What values?" "Honesty, generosity, courage to fight for what's right. And humility. Especially humility. He'll understand that true wealth lies in helping others." 6 months later, George Sebastian Sterling Bennett was born. Catherine insisted on including the Bennett surname as a tribute to Maya, who had become like a sister to her. The baby was baptized at the Foundation's medical center, with Maya and Robert as godparents. The whole community took part in the celebration, which lasted until dawn. Eleanor proved to be a devoted and caring grandmother. She started sleeping over at her son's house 3 times a week to help with the baby. Singing lullabies became her favorite activity. 2 months later, Maya gave birth to a girl, Catherine Bennett. The children grew up together, like true siblings. The Arthur Sterling Foundation continued to grow. By its 5th year, it was already serving 20 cities and had become a model for other organizations across the country. Catherine wrote a book telling her story, with all royalties donated entirely to the foundation. The book became a bestseller and inspired others to fight against injustice. Sebastian turned the old Beverly Hills mansion into the foundation's headquarters. The luxurious halls became classrooms, offices and dining areas for staff and volunteers. The room where Catherine had suffered became a children's library. The children served by the projects came there every week to hear stories told by Catherine herself. One afternoon, while reading to a group of children, Catherine was interrupted by a 7-year-old girl. "Aunt Catherine, is it true you were once imprisoned?" "Not imprisoned, dear. I was in a place I didn't want to be, far from the people I loved." "And how did you get out of there?" "With the help of brave people who never gave up on me, like Aunt Maya." "And what did you learn?" Catherine smiled, looking out the window where she could see Sebastian playing with George in the garden. "I learned that sometimes the bad things that happen to us serve to teach us something important." "What?" "That true love always finds a way to win." End of story. So, what did you think of this story of overcoming and true love? Tell us in the comments whether you believe Catherine made the right decisions and whether Sebastian truly managed to redeem himself for his family's mistakes. Leave a like if the story moved you, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other incredible stories like this one. Your participation means so much to us.